So, AudioCore. I think a lot of you are familiar with AudioCore. It's been around for quite a long time. The advantage with bringing Delta into AudioCore is that AudioCore is a very mature, very stable piece of software. It's been around a long time. Most people know how to use it, and it's a very clear, very simple piece of software that is powerful but is easy to use. But we have incorporated some updates into the new version that will be released with Delta, and that incorporates some new features. One of those is the connection menu. So now you don't need to select a specific comms port or TCP/IP port. Basically, when you boot the software, it will automatically scan all the available connections, and then when you go to the online menu, it will only show you the ones that will connect to products. There's also some new grouping functions. So those of you that are familiar with array control or the global ganging features, basically these new grouping functions are kind of array control, global ganging mixed together, and then a little bit of turbocharging on the end. So all of the amplifiers are what we call group aware. So basically all the group settings are stored in the hardware. That basically means that no matter what piece of software you go online with, whether it's the iPad app or AudioCore, all of the grouping information is pulled back from the units, even if you're not using the original AudioCore file. So it basically makes life a lot easier if you're switching from iPad to AudioCore and back again. All of the grouping information is stored in the amplifiers themselves. There are 32 groups, and they can be selected as input or output types. Each group has a solo and mute function. And you can also assign any channel in the group as a meter source for the group. So you can have visibility of all the metering of the channels in the group if you wish. So there are two types of groups, what we call absolute groups and relative groups. So the difference between the two is that absolute groups, all the channels in that group have the same settings, so there's no offsets or differences allowed between the channels. And the relative groups allow you to have differences between the channels but treats them as one group. So absolute groups are similar to global ganging in that all the channels assigned to that group have the same settings. You can put any channel from any amplifier into an absolute group. You can also view the menus in 3 different sizes on the screen. So if you wanted to have them all as small kind of overviews, it means you can fit a lot more of them on the screen. Absolute groups will control parametric EQ filters, high and low pass filters. So basically all of your filter processing. Relative groups are a bit more similar to array control in that you can have offsets between the different channels, so they can have different settings, but then they can be treated as a whole by turning them up altogether or down altogether, but all at their relative settings. In relative groups, channels from Delta amplifiers can be members of multiple groups at the same time. With absolute groups, a channel can only be a member of one absolute group at a time. But with relative groups, they can be members of multiple groups all at once. So, for instance, if you had an array of sub-speakers with flown centres, sides, they could all be in multiple groups, and treated as individuals, and then basically all of the values are accumulated together and then sent to the amplifier. Again, there's 3 menu sizes available depending on how much you want to be able to see on the screen, and also how much you want to be able to access directly with just one click. So with the small one, you've just got gain up and down indicators, but you've still got a meter, the mute and the solo function. In the medium size, you get a fader slider and then a gain readout, and then in the large one you get delay and the limiter thresholds available as well. And you can switch between these whenever you want, there's no kind of limitation, but it depends how many you want to have visibility of at any one time. So a relative group allows you to control gain, delay, and if it's an output group, limiter thresholds. In addition to that, there's something called a supergroup panel, and this basically will allow you to specify a number of groups and have them all available in a single panel. So that might be 4 or 8 channels. You've then got individual control over each group, plus a supergroup solo and a supergroup mute, so that you can control a number of groups as a single setup.